You have product market fit. You have people which are loving your product, but you don't have channel market fit. And it's crazy. So you have an amazing product. Everybody loves it. Everybody that you can get to see, you can get to see the product. But then you have to do this thing, to close the gap, because you're nobody from Eastern Europe. How can you make that your product is going to be one of the free products which will emerge in conversations? Because in B2B, you're not selling to an individual. Most of the time, if you have higher tickets, you're selling to a committee of decision makers. And they need to be aware that you exist. So how you do that without going bankrupt? That's the problem. So that was another thing, to find the right channels and to push the pedal properly at the right time. And I've made a lot of stupid mistakes here.
Welcome to the Value Driven Marketing Podcast. Over the next episodes, we are following the stories of several Romanian companies that have expanded globally and try to uncover the factors behind their success. The first story in the series is of Omniconvert, a global customer value optimization platform supporting e-commerce brands all over the world. My guest is Valentin Radu, founder and CEO of Omniconvert. He is a serial entrepreneur with 20 years of experience in e-commerce. Valentin built the biggest online car insurance player in Romania, founded Omniconvert in 2013, and built it to be one of the few European CVO platforms with global traction. Omniconvert is the platform behind e-commerce experiments for brands like Patagonia, Orange, and Tempur, and today is evolving into Nexus, an autonomous AI engine that goes from customer insight to live experiment without human execution. Valentin is also a writer. He co-wrote the CLV Revolution alongside researchers from the University of Pennsylvania and Google, and created the CRO benchmark, an industry standard adopted by hundreds of teams worldwide. Valentin is one of the most vocal voices in the industry on the topic of profitable growth. Hey, Valentin, welcome to the Value Driven Marketing Podcast. Thank you for accepting the invite.
Hi there, Elena, and thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for, investing time into getting shortcuts from me.
Thank you for sharing them, first of all. So, Valentin, I've met you many, many years ago, and back then Omniconvert was called something else. It was a startup, if I remember correctly. And so I think you've come a very long way. Let's introduce Omniconvert. Tell us what you do, who you help, and how to get started.
Yeah, so Omniconvert is an e-commerce growth tech solution. We started like 13 years ago. It was called Marketizator, but it was a very, very bad name because the native English speakers were calling it Markesitator, and we
wow. That's something you would want for your company's name.
Exactly, yeah. So now, then basically we've rebranded to Omniconvert, and since then we've started with an A/B testing solution. Then we've built many other solutions around customer experience, customer insights, customer segmentation, and nowadays we're closing the loop. So basically, our focus is to help e-commerce leaders make progress by leveraging their data and changing the website, their ads, and their landing pages with as little human intervention as possible. So that's what we're doing, thanks to the new breadth and the new models of AI that have occurred.
So what was the vision when you started the company? Did you envision becoming a global e-commerce platform from day one?
Well, yeah, I think it's part of the, let's say, madness of every entrepreneur. There is this saying that you can't get there is this saying that you can't get further than your highest vision. So if your vision is very low, then you can't basically do things that will surprise you. So from the very beginning, I've said that I want to play in the global arena, and I want to help as many e-commerce managers and entrepreneurs as possible. So that was my initial vision. We've started first by focusing on the things that I've been focusing prior to that, because I'm a former e-commerce entrepreneur, and I've been struggling with the same problems that my future ICP was struggling, which was improving the conversion rate, decreasing the customer acquisition cost, and basically increasing the performance of their marketing and digital sales.
Sounds good. So basically you went from a startup, a local company aiming to go global, Now you're there. What would you say were the most difficult steps or moments in this evolution?
Oh my God, Elena, the most difficult wasn't the start, to be honest, because you have a lot of enthusiasm when you're starting, you are mad, you are completely disregarding certain obvious signs that maybe you're not that right with your hypothesis, to build a new startup. So you have this stamina when you're starting up. So I had no problem working like a dog for no pay for years. Yeah. But after we raised capital, so when we've decided to raise capital because our numbers started to show traction, that was the first, let's say, crisis that we've got through, because we've got former people which were very good, very committed, very involved into the company, and we also had people which were coming from the corporate world. They just wanted a job, like we have a saying that times goes by and you're getting paid. It's a
Yeah.
Romanian saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically that's when, because my lack of, let's say, wisdom. Yeah, I haven't got the wisdom to understand that there are two cultures and there will be these internal frictions, and we will need, let's say, not only the startup vibe and culture to keep us going further. We needed systems, and we needed guys. We needed bi-yearly evaluation processes. We needed to understand these internal processes, and we've got nothing out of this. We've got nothing like that. So we
Mm-hmm.
had to build the car while we were competing, and it's a very interesting position to be in, because you have the internal model and you have the
Mm-hmm.
external model. When you have money, you might be tempted, like I was, to believe that that's all you need. I have money, I'm gonna grow. No, you still need talent, and maybe, I don't know, 4 out of 10 hours should be, for an entrepreneur, should be to investigate how to get more talent, how to afford to get talent that will be able to get you from 0 to 1 and then from 1 to 10. So that was the first crisis that we've got. And yeah, it took 1 year and a half to recalibrate. I had to let people go. I had to
Mm-hmm.
expose myself. I had to, let's say, kill the culture, because there were people which were disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
99% of the problems I've been generating as an entrepreneur. So basically, I'm to blame. I'm not pointing fingers at the, let's say, attitude of corporate people which are coming and they behave like bounty hunters, and they
Mm-hmm.
jump through jobs, because that's what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you're suffering because you're not seeing reality as it is. And it was my share of suffering. So we basically raised money, increased the number of colleagues to 70 something. And then in 1 year from that, we had to go back to 25 and it was a mess. So yeah, that was one of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Other things that have been challenging was, of course, to you have product market fit, you have people which are loving your product, but you don't have channel market fit, and it's crazy. So you have an
Okay.
amazing product, everybody loves it, everybody that you can get to see the product, but then you have to do this thing, to close the gap, because you're nobody from Eastern Europe. How can you make that your product is going to be one of the free products which will emerge in conversations? Because in B2B, you're not selling to an individual. Most of the time, if you have higher tickets, you're selling to a committee of decision makers, and
Mm-hmm.
they need to be aware that you exist. So how you do that without going bankrupt? That's the problem. So yeah, that was another thing, to find the right channels and to push the pedal properly at the right time. And I've made a lot of stupid mistakes here, but and here there is a, let's say, there is a blend of chances that I had. I mean, I'm definitely sure that someone up there loves me, because I got away with it by being so acting so stupid too many times. And on the other hand, I've experimented like crazy. So I had this capacity to keep on experimenting, keep on being resilient. The customer acquisition cost is still the main problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the underlying problem is that nobody knows you, and you need brand awareness. So you need to be not just a solution provider, to be one of the best alternatives out there. Basically, I'm a big fan of the beachhead strategy, where you you carve out a part of the market and you try to dominate it. You try to be outstanding in that particular market. And it can be a niche, it can be a certain geography, or it can be both. For instance,
Mhm.
a few years ago, we've decided to consciously go only in the UK market and only on Shopify brands and only on the Shopify brands which are selling supplements and high purchase frequency products. And that helped because it was we've got the inbound and we've got the
Mhm.
social whatever, which produced some leads, but with our outreach, where it's very expensive, with our outbound efforts, we've been focusing for this, and it started to pay off. And yeah, that was another let's say moment when we had to pass over some challenges. But there were many. I can definitely say right now that the main challenge is your mental health as an entrepreneur, because
Mm.
somehow this universe responds to who you are. And if you're a mess, then guess what? The outside world is a mess as well. So I think I'm journaling after I
Mhm.
got the burnout back in 2017, 9 years ago. I've started to journal to see how my perception can be so very diversified. I mean,
Mhm.
same thing, the same company, the same colleagues, the same market, and I had this attitude that I'm gonna rock it, and I had this attitude that what am I gonna do? And I realized that these swings, these mood swings, that were basically not based on real things. So
Mhm.
I've got to this habit to realize that I have to use metacognition, to look at how my mind works and to basically subtly shift the focus to the things that should be done and to be extremely, extremely, let's say, ruthless with where I'm putting my attention. Because as a founder, you have employees, you have colleagues, you name them however. There are people which are following your vision, right? And you
Mhm.
have to be a supplier of faith,
Mhm.
stamina, of motivation to those people, because they are coming here. You have to feed them with the right energy. So
Mhm.
that's your job. It's one of the main jobs that you have as a leader, as a founder, to inspire them and to make them believe in a brighter future. Maybe now is not amazing, but it can be, and we are here for the long run. And we've been resilient, and I think that's what definitely helped.
Mhm. Well, I think it's a special kind of ability to be able to question your own views and not take them as to be the reality and then work on that. I think, yeah, definitely a very good learning. So you've thrown me a, a lot of interesting things that I want to go back to. But the first I want to touch on is the ICP fit. So how did you manage? What was the journey to finding your ideal customers, right? Because I assume in the beginning you went to the market with some assumptions, and then you've narrowed that market down to a segment of a segment, as you said, UK and only Shopify and only
Yeah.
specific kind of Shopify e-commerces. So how did you come across your ICP? What was the process?
Yeah, it's you have to look at the data. So that's it. Data and the in-depth customer interviews are revealing what's causing people to adopt your product. And many times you are, I mean, I think I'm wrong more than half of the time. So I'm journaling, and I'm also having a journal of the decisions that I made with the
Mm.
reasoning behind the decisions and the outcome of those decisions. And this shows me that around half of the time I'm wrong. So imagine that you look at a movie and you think that's things half of the time you don't know what movie are you looking at. So that's why you need to listen 2 times more than you're speaking. So to find your ICP, you need to listen to what the market says.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you need to have some capital to, let's say, sacrifice in order to acquire customers, and then to have people that you can interview to understand their context, where they are in their journeys, because your product is not a product, it's a solution to a problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And many times the problem is not the problem that you think it is. It's
Okay.
like a matryoshka, those puppets, small
Yeah,
puppets
yeah. One
or
inside of
layered
you.
like an onion. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to go to the root cause. You need to go to why the company is making these decisions. And that's heavily dependent on the type of ICP you have. So if you're selling a high ticket SaaS like we used to, because we had our ACV was 40,000 plus, right? So for 40K per year, it's not like someone is suddenly waking up and says, let's let's pay 40K on something with my card. No, you have a budget, you have a line in the budget, you have alternatives for that line in the budget, and that budget belongs to a decision maker, which needs to respond to someone within the organization. And there is a lot of dance. So basically, there are some struggles, some struggling moments within the organization that makes individuals go out there and look for a solution that looks like yours. So in our case, we've invested, we've analyzed the market qualitatively and quantitatively. So I'm talking about qualitative research here, where you go applying jobs to be done. I'm a big fan of this methodology. I think is amazing. It changed. I mean, it allowed me to understand that I haven't know shit about marketing, even though I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years when I stumbled upon this method, and I had the opportunity to work with Bob Moesta, which is one of the pioneers in the jobs to be done research. So you do qualitative research with the buyer, yeah, with the decision maker, but also with the user who's using day by day, because many times they are influencing the decision. So there is this committee. You also have the gatekeeper. Maybe you have the CTO or whoever decides that you're going to use a technology over another. So you have many, let's say, things to check in order to understand what you are selling and to whom. And that's going to affect your messaging, your channels, and also your, let's say, focus to certain parts of the market. And on the other hand, you have the quantitative approach, because it's a CLV game, right? So you look who who from my customer base has the highest CLV? What were the channel responsible to that? How have I acquired that customer or those customers? And when you have already, let's say you have a couple dozens of customers, then data shows these kinds of things, because there are lucrative anomalies, and you have to be data literate when it comes to growing a company. So that's the process that we've applied with the ICP. It was purely, Elena, share of revenue, share of cost, CLV, and then what were the anomalies in terms of geography, in terms of the titles of the people which we've got in touch with, what was the time to close,
Time to close the deal.
to the last, and then these interviews, which showed us, you know what, maybe that's the ICP. There's another component, and I think I can share this this story with you. You also need to understand who are your ICP, not only looking at the money, but also at your capacity to accommodate kinds of customers, because we we've we've got some deals which were very large for us to accommodate. We've had some stories where we simply got eaten alive by a customer which was too big for us. So basically, we increased our revenue by 50%, but the demands were for two times more people. And you also have to be very careful with this distribution of your revenue, because if you have one big customer which is gonna say jump, and you'll be asking how high, then that means you need to decrease the level of service or the capacity to accommodate new customers. So you have to understand where is your ideal customer profile, not only by looking at the financials, but also at your capacity to deliver on those, let's say, demands. Yeah, there is a balance, and you need to pick your battles.
And definitely not a good place to be when you depend on one large customer. If you lose that, that's going to throw you completely off. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And many times you wait. I mean, we've closed customers after 6 years. So it took us 6 years to close a customer. Does not, I mean, is not replicable, is not scalable. You have to have a healthy distribution of your customer in your portfolio. It's great that you can have these enterprise deals that eventually are getting closed, but it's not a strategy to rely only on those, at least from my experience so far.
So you grew the company, you got external investment, grew the company, then you had to decrease the team back to its maybe initial size.
Yeah.
And you spoke about being a company from Eastern Europe expanding worldwide. You've had this vision from day one. Obviously, budget plays a big role in it. But I'm looking to understand what were those things, especially on the marketing side, that have helped you make Omniconvert be one of those three companies that come to mind when buyers think about, oh, I need to grow my e-commerce. What platform should I use? and
Yeah.
make Omniconvert be one of those three and show up in the relevant conversation. So
Yeah.
let's start with the things you've seen working and the
Yes.
ones you haven't managed to get working.
So for us, it used to work SEO back in the day. We've been doing a lot of content. We've been addressing a lot of things. We've been building a glossary with terms. We've got a lot of traffic from that. Those days are gone. So basically,
Mhm.
we have now 9 times less traffic than we used to have 2 years ago. It's not a channel anymore, at least not for us. Maybe it is for someone that can nail it, but we've invested like crazy and we couldn't fix this behavior. And I think it's a systemic problem. It's not like SEO is, we are doing SEO the wrong way. I think SEO as a channel is turning into agentic AEO, GEO, whatever you name it. And I'm a big fan of the brand right now. So I think in the new economy, you have to have a personality as a company. You have to have some values that you're broadcasting about, and you have to help your customers to make progress. So, and how you do this? Through content, through social media, through being very intentional about who you are serving from the market, because you can't serve everyone. And that's what worked for us. So basically, my personal brand worked since 10 years ago. I mean, since I've started to post on LinkedIn, since I've started to basically talk about the problems that I'm solving and to articulate
Mhm.
how important are those problems, who's solving the problems in the right way, what are the traps of not solving the problems, what are the consequences. So in a B2B, you have to have a personal brand, at least if you are not having an amazing solution that gets viral tomorrow. Like, I don't know, there are some players like Lovable and I don't
Mm.
know, Replit and Claude and whatever. These are outliers. I mean, not all of us could do this type of disruptive technologies that are having their flywheel within the product. So for the other mortals like I am as well, the alternatives are to broadcast about how this problem can be fixed, what are the consequences of not solving this problem. So basically, social media, personal brand, proper outreach, ABM, account-based marketing, where you decide who's your audience. Nowadays it works very well for us. Value commenting. So you
Yeah.
choose who's in the market, who are your ideal customers, you build a list, and then we've actually built a tool for that. We are tracking actively and we are interacting with the people which are in our ICP. So we have a list of 3,000 people which are our ideal customers. When they post on LinkedIn, we get alerts. We have comments that we can put there, and we build these relationships. There is a thing called marketing waiting rooms. So not you don't have 100% of the market in the market for your solution. Maybe you have 3%, maybe you have 5%.
Yeah.
What do you do with the other ones? You warm them up, right? So you
Mhm.
build a relationship and you show up over there. So now people which are in our sales, marketing, customer success, they have this let's say gamification internally where they post, they comment, they are top of mind on for the people which are in the market for our products. Another channel that works, or another, let's say, strategy that can work, is to close the loop with other channels, but for the same ABM, right? So if you don't have a high budget, you carve out a part of the market and you look at who are your ideal customers and who's talking about the problems that you're fixing. So
Mhm.
basically, you stay top of mind in these conversations on social media, and it's not like this, but you can build stuff. You can use stuff. You can use Claude to have you can use a knowledge base about your company, about your success stories, case studies, whatever, or you can use tools. We've built such a tool for our own needs back in summer last year. Now basically that turned into a SaaS in itself. It's called GTM Brigade. So basically people are using it to build their knowledge base, to do LinkedIn, to follow up on ABM, to get the data from their CRM. So when you have a new deal or you have a new lead, it goes into your CRM and it's automatically feeding your custom feed. So basically, you know when someone is broadcasting or commenting on over there. And the other channels on this play are email, where you can still do outbound and whatever. It's not
Mhm.
amazing, but can work if you have a lead magnet which it works. In our case, we've built a benchmark and an audit which
Mm-hmm.
takes us a few minutes to do, and it's costing us less than $4. And we are offering a free AKG, right? So it's like an X-ray audit for our ICP that we give away, and they become curious. It has a low barrier, so you don't have to do anything to find out about those things. And basically, we are using email, LinkedIn, and LinkedIn ads for this particular part of the market that we're after. Thought leadership ads is something that we've been playing with, so you can boost things that an individual has been posting about you or your solution. And other things that can work in this B2B environment, let's say, can be uh, let's say influencer slash I don't know, so affiliate,
Okay.
where you have some thought leaders in your market, and you are simply paying for exposure and you get something, but it's hard to measure. So basically it's is that. Other than that, we've been testing a lot of things. So I think the common denominator in whatever I can say is, and if you want to, let's say, keep something in mind, it's experiment as fast as you can and
Mm-hmm.
increase your capacity to go to market. So your capacity to ship things and execute on the opportunities. Because now the market is so fast that you can't afford not to experiment. Even if things are going great for you, they might not work so great for you in a few months.
Yeah, that's true. I'm very curious to learn on the branding aspect of things and building brand awareness. And you're very much present on LinkedIn. You're sharing a lot of insights. And for you as a founder, you said earlier that it's difficult to track or to directly attribute results or pipeline being created from some activities. And how did you overcome the anxiety of, oh, I'm going to invest time and money in this direction and I won't know for sure. I mean, data shows that companies that grow invest in brand awareness, but it's very difficult in our conversations with clients and especially founders and CEOs. Everyone wants, pipeline being built in the next 3 months. Okay, so how many leads will you bring in?
Yeah.
How many meetings? So the conversations are always circling around those KPIs. And so for you, how did you overcome this, let's say, kind of misconception or just the anxiety of not being able to pinpoint
Yeah.
the actual results?
So my position here, Elena, is that you can't afford not to invest in brand, even if the branding that you're doing is on a small segment
Mm-hmm,
of the
mm-hmm.
market, because people need to know that you exist first. And we are doing associations. Our brains are prediction machines, right? So we are always predicting what's going to happen. If I'm going out right now, I'm expecting to have some rose that I'm going to see there. I'm expecting to see the cat. I'm expecting for things to happen. If those things are not going to happen, then I'm going to pay attention. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to break the pattern for the customers that you're after, in the sense of being distinctly different, and to force their brain to create a new folder, let's say, where they put you in a folder of solutions for this problem. Yeah. So you have to do this, and you have to have a personality. You can't compete solely on price or whatever. You need to
Mm-hmm.
be the go-to solution to solve this kind of problem. So nowadays in our market, we've decided to be the go-to solution for Shopify companies which are after decreasing their customer acquisition cost and increasing their marketing performance. That's it. That's the space that we want to be in. And that's how you have to do this type of branding and positioning by, if all you have is your knowledge, I mean, you're screwed. If you don't have even the knowledge to, then you're screwed. I mean, you have a product, but you don't know how to use it and how to extract value through it. So you have to become an expert of using
Mm-hmm.
that. But what I've observed is that there are channels like YouTube, for instance, where it's not that expensive to produce content. Nowadays, you can build freaking avatars and B-roll videos or faceless videos about certain topics. That can be a play, where you decide you go into this market. In the UK, I'm gonna do paid YouTube and I'm gonna do organic YouTube around all these topics. And nowadays, you simply go to Claude, you build a skill around how to craft scripts for YouTube. You put yourself in front of the camera and you talk about the scripts that Claude has made based on a notebook LM, which is being fed with all the thought leaders in your space around whatever you're selling. And this can be a very lucrative thing, but it's for the long game. Talking about the short game, so if you want to increase your quota in 3 months, what worked beautifully for us was to freaking print things in the real world. So we've shipped a lot of stuff. It can be a personalized chocolate box with their face. It can be whatever. So you can get creative here, because instead of paying, maybe on LinkedIn, if you haven't nailed that game, instead of paying $400 a meeting or $1,000 a meeting through LinkedIn ads, maybe it's way more cheaper to pay $50 to send the chocolate box to the top 100 companies in your vertical. Or so basically, you can still have things that you can do in order to draw the attention of your market.
And you have to be creative. You either have the budget and hopefully the creativity, but if you don't have the budget,
You have
definitely.
to have creativity. Yeah. So it's like a fork in the road. If you don't have none of those, you're screwed. The need teaches you, right? So if you're being hurt by the market, then you have to strike back. So you have to come up with a new solution, with a new experiment. And again, it's gonna work. You owe it to yourself and to the dear ones, and to your definition as an entrepreneur or a leader, that you're gonna make it happen. So even though there is a jungle out there, it's a jungle, and I'm gonna cut my way through the jungle. That's basically part of your identity, and you have to do this identity pact with yourself. So I'm a strong believer in the fact that I would have been gone bankrupt without this resilient and grit, and let's say positive attitude, but not over optimistic, crazy attitude. It's like, it's hard, but I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna keep on working. I'm gonna keep on trying. As long as you have money in the bank, and as long as you have the proper, let's say, cash flow, and you have some, let's say, leverage to test out things, you're not closed, right? So you still have
Always.
the oxygen.
I was going to say that maybe we should factor in time as well, because you've been doing what you're doing for quite some time. You haven't been around for a year and then kind of boomed, right? Like you've been building your own journey and sharing your experience and knowledge for so long. And I mean, looking at your website and the different shows that you do, and the podcast and case study and all the different content, and also kind of tools like the CRO benchmark, I
Benchmark.
guess. Yeah, so you've been doing this for a long time, so it's also, I guess, creativity, budget, but also factor in time. It does take time to.
Yeah, you have to, but you have to execute faster. So that's the and
Mhm.
now the beauty is that you have so many things that you can do faster. I mean, there are tools out there, and you need to get your hands dirty. So for instance,
Mhm.
I'm now building small apps for whatever I need, so I don't have to go to the devs anymore. So for things that are easy to tackle, I'm building my own skills, my own apps for certain things. So basically, I'm trying to be as agile as possible, because velocity is the parameter that it can be on your side, or it can stop
Mhm.
your journey, let's say.
Yeah, I agree. And with AI, you can definitely build much faster. And so along the way, you've repositioned, you've changed your positioning. At some point, you went into building your own category. So I'm wondering if we can tackle that a little bit. What was the thinking behind building a category? What was the experience like?
Oh yeah, it was a crazy adventure. It was a very expensive adventure as well, because building
Okay.
a category out of thin air means educating the market, and that
Mm.
was extremely expensive for us. So basically, I wrote a book. I associated with a lot of thought leaders in the space. I've articulated the problem, which was validated through hundreds of interviews prior to that, but I haven't took into account how hard it is to change the behaviors, and to adopt new processes, and to basically allocate people within organizations to give this KPI of customer lifetime value. So basically, for some context, I've identified the problem of customer lifetime value in e-commerce. I've built a tool for that, to track it, measure it, and improve it. I've talked with, let's say, I don't know, with Peter Fader, which is the go-to expert, professor at Pennsylvania University. I talked to him about these models. He agreed that I'm onto something. Then I've talked with Neil Hoyne from Google, which was the chief measurement officer there. So I've got the signals from authorities in the space that this is a problem. I've also talked with the possible customers, and we we made it. So basically, in 2021, we launched the product, and we've got to 2,000 new companies using this product on Shopify in just 6 months with, I don't know, extremely low investment. But that wasn't the biggest investment. The biggest investment was to teach them how to use these products, how to build these policies. So we've built an online academy, this one, CVO Academy. We had to do a lot of things until we've said, you know what? It's way too expensive. So people will wake up to the need to increase the lifetime value and to improve it, and will allocate budget to it maybe in the future, because basically we've got a low market to the smaller players, but there are the big players which need these kinds of things. And the big players, guess what, they have politicians instead of data driven leaders at the top of the organization. So we found ourselves trapped in the middle, but because we couldn't sell to anyone. I mean, people started to use our tool, but they ended up saying no, it's too complicated. If they were smaller, if they were bigger, they were saying, yeah, but we have to change our internal reporting, our KPIs, or whatever. Maybe let's talk next year, not next quarter. We've pivoted at that moment, and we've realized that there is a proxy for lifetime value, which is called the NPS, customer experience, and monitoring that was already something that they did. So basically, we've built a product that was not only tracking lifetime value, but also NPS, and not only tracking the NPS, but also extracting the why behind the detractors, the people which are giving up on buying from a product and from a retail. And basically, we've realized that this game, this enterprise game where we need to educate, to invest in a lot into this type of, I don't know, events where you go at golf with all sorts of enterprise people, is not for me. I mean, it's not for us. It's certainly a play that can work, but I don't have the time for that. So we've got back to the drawing board, and now we are building something which is simple, easy to adopt, and it's on a pain which is already acknowledged. So we don't have to educate people that they need to increase their return on ad spend or their profit. They know that, they want that. And that's why now we're building a new product which is basically ingesting all the knowledge. It's like we build the pieces of the puzzle, and now we are completing it with the solution, which is closing the loop completely. We have the data insights, we know who are your best customers, we investigate what they are saying through their customer experience. We analyze the reviews. We find out the products which are making sense from a lifetime value perspective and from a profit perspective. Then we investigate your competitors' ad library and your ad library. And then we build ads through AI. And then we build landing pages through AI as well. So it's a full funnel which has the human in the loop, but the resources to make this are ridiculous compared to what they used to cost. And now our solution has migrated to this new direction where it's more AI e-commerce growth rather than lifetime value and so on, because that's what the market taught us. And yeah,
So the learning would be listen to the market and be data driven and do what's realistic, I guess, with the budget that you
yeah,
have. Presumably, had you had
exactly.
a huge budget, you would have
Yeah,
been able to push the category forward.
yeah. We're just 20 million short of making this category happen.
Okay. And I'm curious to learn about the North Star metrics you're using to follow up on your progress and make sure that the marketing initiatives you have at Omniconvert bring in the desired results. So which are those 2, 3 key metrics that you follow?
Yeah, we have a thing which is called the magic number for us when it comes to sales, which is the percentage of net new revenue, net new margin generated versus the cost. So basically, the balance. If it's positive, that's great. If it's only one, that means we are barely breaking even, because we also have to factor in the time. So that's one. Another one, So basically, it's the net margin versus the cost. So it's the sales efficiency ratio. Let's say this one. Another one is of course the CLV to CAC ratio, where you have to look at how much you're getting, how much you're gonna get. The problem here is that you have multiple products like we do, and you have different behavior like it's happening right now because the market is oversaturated with solutions and people start to migrate unpredictably earlier than they used to. So that's why the play now, you also have to take into account the last thing, which is the CAC payback period by product.
Mhm.
So in how much time you are going to get to break even by product so that you know how to play the cash flow game. So how much you afford to invest in new product development and
Mhm.
of course in new market acquisition, new customer acquisition.
In your journey to becoming where Omniconvert is today, which would you say were, I guess, the biggest leaps that you as a team had to do?
Yeah, one of our struggles was that the lack of talent. We've been working with an incomplete team for quite some long, and even today we are on the market for a head of sales. That can get what the market needs. So we're kind of incomplete, and that happened due to the fact that you might be tempted to believe that you have this problem only when you are small, only when you're an entrepreneur. But as you grow and as you have more people, you still need talent. You still need the right people on the right seat. So we've been using a methodology called DOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, in order to understand what is the org chart, what is the long-term vision, what is the scorecard that we need to track every single month, week, whatever. Thanks to that, we've managed to somehow wing it with a smaller people or a smaller number of leaders in the management team. So now we are 5 people, but it's clear that in an ideal case we should be 6. And
Mhm.
basically we are still having this type of roles, but the technology really helps here. Again, the need is going to teach you. So we have now all sorts of automated process and all sorts of ways to be extremely efficient, even though we are not complete as a team. But talent is still going to be a problem, and hiring and improving the let's say the efficiency of your team is still going to be the one of the main tasks for a fund.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think it it took me more than a decade to redefine who I am in the global market. And I think we are who I am as an individual. I think we have this problem with we feel inferior. We feel that our main, let's say, unique value proposition is the price, and yeah, we'll sell it 2 times cheaper than the other ones. I think this has to stop. I think the market is gonna always welcome whoever has the solution that provides undeniable value and the player which is articulating the problem in the best manner possible. So that's what you have to do as a founder in the global arena. Come up with an outstanding product, not half-baked products,
Mhm.
and price it the right way. So don't go for the cheapest in the market. You can have this strategy, of course, like go to market motion to give it away for free for the next 6 months to everyone so that you can do the network effect. So that's a strategy. We are using it as well. But what I think it's important for Romanian entrepreneurs is to understand that they are valuable and they have all the rights to be in this market. Yeah, we've earned our rights to be there, and you just need to open up your mind towards where the market is. Because to be honest, there is also this trap as well. I'm gonna start in Romania. I'm gonna validate it here. Yeah, and 2 years after you struggle with a lot of people which are not that educated around what the heck you're selling, you're gonna say, what was in my mind? Why haven't I started in the UK, in the US, in the whatever global market? So no, if you would be, let's say, waking up tomorrow as an, let's say, from an alien intelligence and got into Romania and say and be the entrepreneur that you are, what are the odds that you start in Romania? No,
Mhm.
there are no odds. You go, you choose your battles according to where the battle is easier for you to win, and it's more, let's say, valuable for you, because it's one thing to be 2 years smarter by playing in the global arena, and it's
Mm-hmm.
another thing to be 2 years, let's say, tired
Mm,
playing in the local Romanian arena. So go out there and make exports happen.
very wise advice. And yeah, I think courage definitely plays a role here. So this is super helpful, Valentin. I do hope this message goes to as many Romanian founders as possible. Thank you so much for taking the time and for being here with us today. Super appreciated.
Thank you, Elena, and thanks everyone for watching. I'm on LinkedIn, so if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I'm always open. So my DMs are open.